Welcome back to Hardcount Sports. This is now the 8th episode of the podcast. Wow, we're fairly doing well, aren't we, Zach? How are you today?
I'm doing very well, Ross. I'm enjoying that Northern Irish sun, which we don't get too often.
Yeah. It's good to see it out.
It's nice to see it out. It's a rarity. So whenever it happens here, you just sort of have to be out in it all day because it won't be long until the rain's back. So how are you getting on?
Yeah, not too bad. I went through a bit of a sticky situation today, but we'll reserve the story for that for another day.
It's all cleared up now.
It's all cleared up now. But yes, looking forward to talking a wee bit more football. And we've got another guest on tonight as well, the guy out of Ohio State.
No. The Ohio State, Ross.
Okay.
Ohio State.
Fair enough. The Ohio State, yes. We got tight end out of that school coming on later. That'll be good to hear from him. And actually, this guy's got a few relatives living in Northern Ireland.
There you go. There's a link
cool.
there.
That's cool. Yeah. But you know what? We'll get into the news as we always do. Zach, would you like to kick things off?
Yes, and we're right in the thick of the off season now. Training camp's just around the corner. Usually the news is quite dry at the minute, so we maybe don't have as many blockbuster headlines to give you tonight. But that's nothing on our part. It's just due to the time of the league that we're in right now. However, some juicy news out of New England for you, Ross. Okay, I want to hear your reaction on this.
Yep.
Now, N'Keal Harry, wide receiver for the New England Patriots, his agent Jamal Toussaint has asked Bill Belichick and the New England Patriot organization for a trade before training camp. Okay, now this is an interesting one. Okay, because N'Keal Harry didn't get off to the best start in his career with the Patriots.
No, he didn't.
What's your reaction to this one?
Well, as you said yourself, he didn't get off to the best start. He was injured quite a lot in his first season as a Patriot. I think this is good for N'Keal Harry. Bill Belichick's brought in a plethora of weapons into that side now. He's got, Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith, Kendrick Bourne, to name a few. Nelson Aguilar, another one.
Exactly.
But I think in order to get more playing time, I think he's going to need to move out of New England. I think that's a good decision that he's made there. Now, the team who he moves to, that's a big question. I think my 49ers are in the mix.
Okay.
I think your Broncos should maybe be in the mix for that.
I know.
Think it should be. You can maybe tell me otherwise, but suppose we've got Jerry Jeudy over there.
That's true.
But yeah, no, there'll be plenty of teams looking for a solid wide receiver, and not to mention N'Keal Harry played for Arizona State, and who played on the other side of the field when he was there? Brandon Ayuk.
Oh, right, okay.
Plays for the 49ers, so there might be a wee bit of a college reunion there, or an NFL reunion. Two college teammates.
It really, his career in the NFL really hasn't gotten off to the start that he was expecting, or the New England Patriots were expecting, for that matter. He's finishing his time. If he gets traded, that's a different story. He's finishing his career with 45 catches, 414 yards, 4 touchdowns, and that's in New England. That is, and New England spent the 31st overall pick in 2019 on N'Keal Harry, and I think this, this is a really another example of Bill Belichick. Yes, he's a fantastic GM. He's a fantastic coach, and he can find fantastic talent. But one thing that has eluded him his time as a coach is finding really good wide receiver talent early. You think of the likes of Julian Edelman. Okay, he was a late round pick. You think of other players who've come to New England. Chris Hogan didn't start his career there. I think of Randy Moss. He brought those guys in. Usually New England is a team where, in order to get wide receiver weapons, they like to go from the outside and bring guys in, as opposed to draft people in and then keep going that way, because it's not really worked so far. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. As I say, training camp is not that far away. Whether this happens, whether they get a trade away, we'll see. Whether he goes into waivers is another story, and whether he actually continues his career in the NFL, that is the real question right now.
That's it.
But so his career is in a bit of uncertain times. And speaking of careers in uncertain times and positions in uncertain times, the match happened last week, Ross. The golf.
You see, I knew you were going to bring this up, Zach. You're a massive golf fan, and I've also seen a few bits and pieces going up on the Twitter page, possibly about this golf match. Now, I don't run that. Zach runs that. I have no clue what's going on when it comes to golf.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it has looked quite good. And some stuff, some NFL news has come out of it. I think Gronk was on the phone the other day with him.
And he was talking a bit of trash to Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
And that's who I want to talk about, Ross, is, N'Keal Harry's is an uncertain position. And speaking of, we've got to talk about Aaron Rodgers as well. Now, overall, I watched part of it. I did. It was 5.5 hours long. Okay, went on until 4:30 in the morning. I'm not good. I like my golf. I like Rodgers. I like Brady. I like, I thought Phil's a great athlete, Phil Mickelson. I'm not gonna watch it until 4:30. Like, are you kidding me? I watched the 7 minute.
I wouldn't put it past you.
I watched the 7-minute Bleacher Report, the compilation video. So I watched it, and the trash talk was very good. Tom Brady, he was mouthing off to a few people. He was mouthing off. He called Aaron Rodgers the leader of the Packers, I think. And this it was very funny. He Tom Brady's actually very good at trash talking. If you follow him on Twitter, you'll see. But this is really where the real piece of music, or the real piece of news, came from. TNT's Brian Anderson, TNT, were covering the match. He is a Milwaukee sports reporter. He asked Aaron Rodgers this question whenever he was going to one of the greens in one of the holes. He said, who will be the quarterback for the Green Bay Packers versus the Bears? To which Aaron Rodgers replied, I don't know, BA. We'll see. We'll see, won't we? He then followed up and said,
that's a very good impression.
you like it? You like it?
Yeah, I do.
He then went on and asked him, who will be the Packers quarterback against the Saints? To which Aaron Rodgers replied, oh, what game would that be? He says, their season opener. And he says, we'll see again. Ross. What do we take? What do we take from this?
We've been over this, Zach.
I know,
but I think it's much of a muchness at this point. I think Aaron Rodgers, knows what the right thing is to do. Yeah, I think he knows that the Green Bay Packers want him back.
Yep.
I'm still not completely sure as to why he's holding out. Money's not the issue here. I think he wants the respect on his name that he deserves. I think he wants to be able to pick and choose who's getting in the roster and stuff. But I think he will be back in Green Bay. Now, later on, we're going to come to our NFC North predictions.
Yes.
And I've actually got the Vikings taking that division. That's a spoiler alert.
Okay.
Because I think that even if Aaron Rodgers comes back, he's not playing the full ability this year. This is all going on in his head. You could all argue the other way, and maybe say that he will play out of his mind because he wants to prove something.
Yeah.
There's two arguments to be made there.
Definitely. He said that he's playing in a golf tournament in Lake Tahoe, which is an all-star golf tournament. And Patrick Mahomes was there this week. A few other ones were there. Justin Timberlake was there. And he said that he would talk a wee bit more about his future now. So, this is something to look up and maybe to check out. But, we were talking about these rumors all the way back on our first few podcast episodes. And I think that really now we're getting into the meat and potatoes part of it. The training camp is coming, and Green Bay are going to have to make a decision. They're either going to go with Love or they're going to go with Rodgers, and Rodgers has to decide whether he is just going to suck it up and play in Green Bay. And I think it's interesting times. I think we're coming to the end of it. Hopefully, I'm seriously sick and tired of talking about this, and I just wish Rodgers would come out and say exactly what he's thinking instead of just playing this game.
That's it. I think it's on the horizon. I think and it'll be very interesting if he says he's not going back to the Packers.
Could you imagine the frenzy after that? The recruitment that will go on, Ross.
Crazy. And if he doesn't go back to the Packers, I think Davis Alexander said this himself actually in our very first podcast episode.
He did.
He'd go to the Broncos and he'd bring them to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think that makes sense because John Elway's there. He was a franchise quarterback. He understands what Aaron wants and control of the offense and input with players. I think that makes some sense. His fiance as well grew up in Denver. I'm not saying that that's going to be a big factor into why he's going, but it helps. But then again, I have to think from the Packers fans side of it. Why would he want to leave Green Bay? You know, you were in the NFC Championship game. You were a game away from the Super Bowl last year. You know, you go in. Yes, you can try and, you know, mend a few problems from last season. He played unbelievable, had the best game of his season, or best season of his year, in my opinion, last year. So we'll see what happens there. But yes, hopefully it'll all come to an end. Another player I want to run by you, Ross, get your opinion on. Quarterback Stephon Gilmore. Another one for Patriots fans to have sleepless nights over. Is that he said he's been holding out of OTAs. He's not happy with his contract. Now, calm down, Patriots fans, because he said he doesn't want to be traded out of New England. Okay, still might happen. He says that he wants to be paid what he's worth, however that plays out. Okay, he's 2019 Defensive Player of the Year. He's due $7 million this year, which will make him the 24th highest paid cornerback in the league. 24 is not high enough number for Stephon Gilmore. And if I'm thinking, like, he will be thinking he's not going to like that. What do you think, Ross?
Here's the thing about Stephon Gilmore. He's the number one corner in the league when he's at his best. And I think so. Jalen Ramsey's a close second.
I think it's Jalen Ramsey in my opinion, but
go on ahead, yes. Stephon Gilmore's, you know, when he's at his best. You saw in the Super Bowl even, Jared Goff couldn't get any points up on that board. Number one reason was Stephon Gilmore shutting down everything he was throwing.
Yeah.
And I think if he gets out of New England, that'll be major. If any team has a chance to pick him up, wow.
Definitely.
You know, I think also he'll realize that the fun is outside of New England.
Yeah.
You know, look at Tom Brady.
Yeah.
He's thriving being outside of Bill Belichick's reign. You know, he's putting things up on Twitter, as you said. You know, he's trash talking. Stephon Gilmore will come to the realization that not only is the money outside of New England, the fun is he wants out. I think he wants out, and I could see him getting out sooner rather than later.
Yeah, it's he is a cornerstone in that defense. You know, he really is a unique part of it. And you know, New England have been through a bit of a transitional period. Tom obviously leaving, the defense has switched up a bit. Kyle Van Noy went down to the Dolphins for a hot minute. Now he's back. You know, so you have had in the past this sort of next chapter, turning of chapters for New England, and I think that Stephon Gilmore will be in the next wave of that if he doesn't get his payday. Speaking of. This is a really good segue into another quarterback who's turned chapters and Matthew Stafford. Okay, and some news came out this week on the podcast Flying Coach, which is Pete Schrager.
Got nothing on ours though.
No. Pete Schrager and Sean McVay, they had head coach of the 49ers on this week, Kyle Shanahan, who revealed that they were in pursuit of Matthew Stafford before Sean McVay undercut them and he got traded to the Rams, Ross.
In fact, you know, as a 49ers fan, I heard, you know, in and around, when was that? That must have been about just before the Super Bowl? That was flying about?
Well, there were rumors that, he was, that Matthew
in terms
Stafford
of the rumors
would be on the move. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember hearing a rumor that Matthew Stafford was like this close to joining with the 49ers. And obviously, Shanahan, I think, was expected to meet with him, wasn't he?
Okay, yeah.
And Sean McVay just took him right under our grasp. And I think not only is that a bit of foul play there from Sean, but Matthew Stafford obviously wanted to work with him over Kyle, which is surprising to me. But obviously, we'll see how that works out. And I think the way it's fallen, the 49ers have a good situation at quarterback too. Definitely. So I don't think either team can complain. They've both got what they wanted. But we'll see how it works out.
Yeah, and I have to say that podcast I listened to the episode, and there is good banter between Sean McVay and Coach Shanahan. You know, they obviously are very good friends, and there was a bit of jostling back and forth about, we got your guy or anything, that kind of stuff. But the thing that made it interesting to me was they were both on holiday in Cabo in Mexico, and Sean McVay staying in one hotel 2 miles away. You know, there's Kyle Shanahan, and he's sitting in the other hotel. He was watching some of his game tape, some of Stafford's game tape. Got told by a source, go out for dinner tonight. Nothing's going to happen on the Matthew Stafford front. He got a text message at dinner saying, if you're wanting Stafford, call him now. And the next thing he knew, Sean McVay had got him and he'd be in the Rams uniform next year. So, well, it's just a bit of an interesting one. It was a really good podcast. I'd recommend it for you, Ross, especially as you're a 49ers fan.
Yeah, no, I'll have to look into it. Yep.
Yeah, but so that was an interesting tidbit that came out this week. And also another coach who came out and talked to the press and Pro Football Talk was Doug Peterson, who revealed a wee bit more about his time with the Eagles and how it came to an ugly end, and also a bit more about why they selected Jalen Hurts. He had this to say, and I want your reaction, Ross. He said that he would not dwell on the past with the Eagles, that he was proud of what they had achieved, and that they didn't draft Jalen Hurts to undermine Wentz. The only reason that they took Jalen Hurts was because they were available, they were ready to take him, and they always are in pursuit of the next great quarterback. Okay. What's your thoughts?
Interesting. In pursuit of the next great quarterback, surely the next great quarterback is the quarterback on your own roster to begin with. And at that point, actually, when they drafted Jalen Hurts, was there anything wrong with Wentz? You can argue, yes, he had a few injuries and stuff, but the majority of his bad play was in this past season.
Yes.
I think when you introduced Hurts into that situation, Wentz didn't like that.
No,
he felt a bit under pressure. And, quarterbacks and anyone can respond to two ways to that kind of thing. They can either take it under their wing and fight and show how they are the number one quarterback, or they can feel claustrophobic and this is too much for them.
Yeah.
Carson Wentz sadly felt the second of those. And I think that it says a lot about him. It also says a lot about him, Jalen Hurts as well. Obviously, Jalen Hurts put enough pressure on Carson Wentz, and maybe he is worth all the hype that everyone's putting him up to be. I think that Jalen Hurts won't be as good as what Carson Wentz could have been on that roster. But we'll see. I think Carson Wentz has the better season out of the two this year.
Yeah,
I
the
think.
Colts. Yeah.
In fact, I was listening to the Pat McAfee show, and we know he's biased towards the Colts, but he put it like this: the Colts have a very, very good line. They've got some great weapons in there. They've got nearly three-pronged running attack with Jonathan Taylor,
Naheem Hines. Yeah.
That's the one.
Yep.
And some other guy. That's the one.
Yep.
And they've got Pittman. They've got T.Y. Hilton.
Yep.
They've got an array of receivers. They've got a decent defense. They've got a good kicker and
special teams.
Yeah. That's it. There's no reason why they can't be in the Super Bowl this year. Slot in Carson Wentz, who's a younger, possibly better version of Philip Rivers.
Yeah, definitely. And to your point, actually, whenever you say about Carson Wentz being the latter of those two responses to the quarterback, I kind of feel bad for him because, you look at what happened that Super Bowl run. He goes down injured. Nick Foles goes in, and he's the one who takes them to the Super Bowl, and he's the one who's the MVP. Carson watched all that, okay? Then the next season, he goes on, he plays a full season, and then he goes down injured, and Nick Foles takes that team into the playoffs. He's been here before. He's had a quarterback underneath who he knows maybe is, in the wing, and in a given moment is going to go and take that job from him. And so, I think this is just this whole problem for him 2.0 with Jalen Hurts. I think the move away from the Eagles is the best situation for everybody. Yes, it's expensive for Philadelphia, but they needed a fresh start. They've got a new head coach as well, Nick Sirianni. And I think Doug Peterson, I hope he's back. He says he's going to be coaching not in 2021, but in 2022. If it doesn't work out in Denver, I'd quite like him to be our new head coach. But we shall see. I'm rooting for him. I'm rooting for Carson. We'll see what happens.
We will. And on that note, I think we'll end it there. Zach, you carried me today through the news. Really appreciate that. Thank you.
I don't know about that, but anyway.
We have a special guest coming on just now for you. Patrick Gurd. He's Ohio State. The Ohio State.
That's right.
Corrected myself.
That's right.
The tight end. He's played defensive line. He's played middle linebacker, outside linebacker in high school. This guy's an absolute weapon. He's an absolute force and can play anywhere. It's going to be great to welcome him to the show, and you'll get to listen to that interview in less than 10 seconds. So if we see you after the break.
Welcome to Hard Count Sports, where we're very pleased to introduce our next guest on the podcast. He's a tight end for the Ohio State in Ohio in his sophomore year. We're very pleased to welcome Patrick Gurd. Patrick, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. I'm doing better now. I'm talking
not
to
too
you.
bad. Not too bad. Yep.
We always ask our guests just to begin with, whereabouts you are and what you're getting up to. So, Patrick, whereabouts are you and what you're getting up to at the minute?
I'm in Columbus, Ohio, at Ohio State University right now for summer conditioning and lifting, and I'm also in some classes.
Very nice.
Summer classes right now, yeah.
So the next season's already begun. Laying the foundation work in, yeah.
Yeah, our coaches tell us we're already in August right now.
Oh, wow.
Oh, well, there you go. You need that extra bit of motivation.
That's it.
Yeah, just a little bit. Got to keep going.
That's it. The grind don't stop, so it doesn't.
Yeah,
very nice. So yes, Patrick, we're very glad to have you on, and we've been doing a wee bit of research on you, a bit about your collegiate career and also about high school. And one thing we came across is that not only are you a very talented football player, but you also were very good at lacrosse as well. And Ross and I were wondering why did you choose to pursue football ahead of lacrosse, and also have you learned anything from the game of lacrosse that you can apply into the game of football?
Thank you. That's awesome. So lacrosse, I love both sports, football and lacrosse. Love them both. I've played football since 5th grade.
Okay.
And I started lacrosse like 6th grade, 7th grade, so not much long after. It was difficult to choose between the two, but also not being able to play my senior year of lacrosse due to COVID, that also hurt. And football, obviously, a lot easier to recruit in the United States for football with lacrosse. Because lacrosse is a growing sport at the moment, so not many colleges have lacrosse teams. So football is a lot easier, and I love the contact of football. A lot of fun.
Definitely. And actually, I remember hearing about Chris Hogan. He used to play for the New England Patriots, and how he's hung the helmet up for the New England Patriots or for the NFL, and he's actually pursuing lacrosse as well. So I whenever I was reading a bit about you, I couldn't help but think of Chris Hogan.
Yeah. They're both great sports, but football tops lacrosse.
There you go.
Yep. So then going to your football career then at Ohio State, you've played multiple high school. You've played multiple positions there at New Albany High School. Defensive end, outside linebacker, tight end, obviously. What was your favorite? Obviously, tight end was your favorite, but why did you choose it? At Ohio State, what made you choose that position finally?
So I think more from my body, my size, and my frame, I was chosen for tight end. But for my area in Columbus, I'm recruited by the linebacker coach for Ohio State.
Right. Okay.
But the tight end coach wanted me for tight end, so I took that to tight end. And it's a lot of fun, getting to score touchdowns and also block 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, I'd imagine so. So you walked on then in Ohio State. Patrick, was there any opportunity for maybe a smaller school scholarship on the table? Was that an option?
Yeah, so I was also talking to Akron which is
okay,
a
yeah,
small
yep.
one school up in
Mm-hmm.
Northeast Ohio, Cleveland area. Toledo a little bit, Ohio
Yep.
University,
Mm-hmm.
and Pittsburgh. But Pittsburgh was also another walk-on opportunity.
Mm.
Very good. I think isn't LeBron James? He's from Akron, isn't that right? I think so.
Yeah,
Or,
LeBron is from Akron.
Yep.
Yeah. Very nice. And also, again, reading up a wee bit more about you, we learned that your dad actually played for Ohio State.
Mm.
And so, with your dad playing there, how important was it for you to play for the Scarlet and Gray?
For as long as I can remember, it was always Buckeyes are number one school, number one for every single sport.
Yeah.
And my dad played linebacker at Ohio State.
wow.
So linebacker was
Oh,
my
right,
starting
okay.
position.
Yep.
Very
That
nice.
was my starting position. And then, switch to tight end, go back and forth between the two. But having my dad play at Ohio State really helped me pursue what I wanted to do, which was play collegiate football, and then getting the opportunity to play for Ohio State. That just was like, wow, doors open. I'm going to go for it.
Yeah, definitely. And from an outsider looking in, I think of Clemson. I know they're a huge school and they have a massive following, and obviously a lot of the big schools do. But Ohio State, for me, seems like they have an absolutely insane fan base. So just for you obviously are from Ohio. You were a fan. Just how important are the Buckeyes to Ohio as a whole and the fan base?
Oh, they're huge. The Ohio State football team is the pride of Ohio. Everyone in Ohio loves them. It was big difference being in the stadium last year with having a couple thousand fans.
Yep.
It affected us a little bit because we love having the fans there. It's our 12th man for a lot of the home games. Very loud, but the fan base for Ohio State is incredible. They're awesome people.
Definitely, yeah. And I would say, we also, we follow the NFL, and you look at the Seattle Seahawks and you look at their stadium, the fans are literally like that 12th player, as you say.
They are, yep.
Look at the Green Bay game there in the playoffs a couple of years ago. Green Bay completely capitulated. So, with COVID now, things are starting to get back together. The NFL are planning for, full stadiums. How excited are you to see Ohio State, the stadium full of fans?
It's going to be electric. It was pretty cool for my class. We get two really cool opening games, with last year being my first game ever in the shoe in the Scarlet and Gray. That's awesome. But then I get to do it again with 100,000 people. It's going to be something else.
Wow.
That is crazy. So then looking maybe to the roster then that Ohio have going into this season, and even past seasons, when you've been playing 2020 this past year, who are the guys on that roster, Patrick, who are maybe bringing you up, helping you out as a player, bringing up your skill level and helping you out in terms of, both on the field and off the field?
Of course. Ohio State, we have a very strong and tight-knit brotherhood. We all care for each other. So as an incoming freshman, especially as a walk-on, you're a little nervous, but you got to be confident, got to show yourself. And especially with the guys there like Luke Farrell, who's now Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yep, the NFL, yep.
Awesome guy. He put me under his wing, especially because with our class, the classes I want to be taking, he basically did the same thing. So I got to follow his lead. Another guy is Thayer Munthard. Okay. He was my locker mate, so I got to talk to him a lot, and he helped show me the ropes. And then also Justin Hilliard.
Know him. He's a linebacker. He's on the Niners now, isn't he?
I think
I think so. Yeah, thought so, because I'm a 49ers fan, so I've been keeping up with things there. Tell me this: have you ever taken any or caught any passes from Justin Fields?
Funny story. My first ever time catching a pass was from Justin Fields.
Wow.
Crazy.
What kind of a guy is he like?
Justin Fields?
Yeah.
Great dude. Cares for everyone. Goes up, shakes hands, says hello. He's very humble, and great athlete.
Yeah. I'm surprised he dropped as far as he did. And whenever it came out, it'll be Justin Fields is in the top 3, top 4, and then he went just a couple of weeks before the draft, he fell. And I was looking at the guy going, what is it? Why do people not? Why is he falling? I just do not understand this. You know,
Yeah.
I think the Bears have got a steal there.
Yeah, I do too. It was a shame. We all thought he was going to go earlier, and then pick Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson. We're just like, what is going on? It was weird.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So then this season ahead, then Patrick, what's your expectations for game time? Because obviously last season you maybe didn't get as much as you'd hoped. But what are you looking forward to in terms of game time this season?
So this season, my role is really going to be helping on the special teams. So I'm hoping and giving my best shot in practices to make it on the punt team.
Okay.
Also kickoff team, getting the run down the field and just hit someone.
Yeah, got to
Yeah.
show them what you're made of.
And if you're listening to anybody who is listening and not watching the video, you should have seen the smile on Patrick's face whenever he was saying hitting someone. It was like a kid at Christmas.
Yeah,
Feels like that. Opening Christmas presents. Yeah.
Definitely.
Only the opposing team aren't thinking that. But yeah, so sorry, go ahead, Zach.
Yeah, as we sort of wind down our interview towards the close, we always like to get players' thoughts and opinions on some things around the league. So we had a tight end on in our early days of a podcast, and we asked him all about Tim Tebow at tight end. Patrick, what's your thoughts there?
Tim Tebow is an extraordinary athlete. I'm sure you all know that.
Absolutely.
Being a quarterback at Florida and then going to the NFL and then playing baseball, now going back. I really think, and he got big too. You saw the photo.
Yeah, he did.
He got pretty big. I think Jacksonville is going to have an interesting time with him with at tight end 1, and then they can also probably put him at quarterback for Wildcat.
Yeah. I don't know. I think he's had his due time on quarterback duty. I think don't put him there anymore.
Bit of a Taysom Hill kind of a rule then, do you think,
Patrick? Probably more tight end.
Okay,
but who knows? They could slip him back there for a little something.
Well, maybe Trevor Lawrence mightn't be too pleased though.
Definitely, and also while we've got a tight end on, I've been dying to ask someone who would know more than I would about it. Tight end university. You've seen the best of the NFL come together in Tennessee. George Kittle is there, Travis Kelce's there, TJ Hawkinson, to name a few. Is that something that you would love to be part of someday, to link up with all those guys, to learn off them? Iron sharpens iron. If you made it to the pros, would you definitely like to go to something like that? Or maybe you have that experience already at the collegiate level in Ohio State, learning off some of the best athletes in America.
I think it'd be awesome. We've at Ohio State, we've actually been lucky enough. Greg Olson came.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and we got to learn a lot from Greg. It was an awesome experience. He's teaching us a whole bunch of stuff about the first 5 yards on any route and how to beat your man. It was really cool.
Wow.
Ooh. So Patrick, if there's one defensive back in the NFL that you'd love to go against, who would it be?
Defensive back. Oh wow. I think Eli Apple.
Oh yeah.
Eli Apple. Oh yeah.
Another Buckeye. Why not go against another Buckeye?
Right enough.
Did you weren't? No, he was
He's been in the league a while,
drafted by the time you got to Ohio State, But that would be class. We had a guy on a few weeks ago who said Jalen Ramsey. That was quite a bold prediction, but he was a walk on at Alabama. He was obviously confident enough. But another question we have, and we ask this to all our guests, is who do you think will be in Super Bowl 56 this year?
So I'm a Rams fan.
Okay.
I'm going to go with the Rams. Matthew Stafford. Let's see. I hope he'll do well.
I think so. I'm a 49ers fan, you see. So I wouldn't be saying that. In fact, I hope they don't win it. But you never know. Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford pair up. You never know what might happen.
Sean McVay is a wizard. He knows so much about the sport.
He's such a brain.
He does, yeah.
So that's in the NFC. So who do you think in the AFC will be up against them then?
It'd be cool if the Ravens.
Oh, all right, okay.
Okay.
I think
I've heard
that's
that.
a matchup. Yeah.
That would be really
It
good.
would be,
I'd
it
watch
would be.
that game. I'd definitely watch that game. Yeah.
Would it be the Super Bowl? Does Zach have no choice?
Yeah, well, true. Yeah. I'll watch it anyway. Here, I watched Super Bowl 53. I'll watch any Super Bowl.
Oh, it was awful, wasn't it?
Well,
The
yeah,
Rams played in that one, didn't
I'm sure it was worse for you, Patrick, because it wasn't the best of games. And your Rams, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I thought the game before it when they played the Saints was top ball. That was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good game. That was a good game.
But then finishing off, Patrick, the championship, the big game for you guys in college. Where do you project, in terms of teams playing in that? Do you think Ohio State will be in that big game?
I think we have a really good shot this year,
Mm-hmm.
especially after last year, making it, playing Bama. And we got a lot of talent on the team right now, especially with our O-line coming back. I think we have a really good shot making it this year.
Yeah, class. Well, all the best, Patrick. We hope that you guys do make that game. Come the end of the year, we'll be rooting for you, and keep on doing what you're doing. And from what we've seen, you've been doing some amazing things on the field, and we hope that you get great time on the field this year, even though it may be on special teams. It's a great chance for you to put stuff on tape, and we'll be rooting for you, as we said. So, Patrick, thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you, Patrick.
All the best.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome to segment 3 of the Hard Count Sports podcast. It was great having Patrick Gurd on from Ohio State. Really nice guy. And, he's got a lot in common with us because he's got family in Northern Ireland. He's got second cousins here. And, it's great. Obviously, we've been interviewing guys from college and the NFL and a few coaches as well and stuff. But it's nice to have a guy on from the, on the show who's actually got some kind of connection with us.
Yeah, exactly. And off camera, we were chatting a wee bit more about where all he's been in Northern Ireland, and it was familiar names he was telling us, and also he was telling us a bit about whenever he's over here, the sports that he plays. He plays a bit of rugby and a bit of cricket as well with his cousins, I know Patrick, very very nice guy, and we'll definitely be having to check up on the Buckeyes and see how he's getting on next season, Ross.
Yeah, no, we will. We'll have to check up on him and see. He says a wee bit there about special teams, and that's a great way for him to kind of introduce himself to the eyes of Ohio State fans, and put himself on tape. Because for a guy who's maybe a walk-on, it is difficult to get the opportunities. We heard a while back from Josh Lanier. He actually chose to transfer because he wasn't getting his opportunities, and that's a way of doing it. But Patrick seems pretty focused on playing for the Big O, the Ohio State. And, I think he will get his opportunities and time will tell. But I think he's more than capable of playing. But now let's move on to the main section of segment 3 today, which is a series we're going to be picking up for the next 4 weeks. On the show, we're going to be discussing the NFC and AFC predictions. We're going to be taking a deep dive on each of the teams. This week, we're going with the NFC and the AFC North. And next week, it will be, and so on and so forth. We'll be talking about these different divisions and what we see happening in 2021. So obviously, we're starting things off with the NFC North. And, you start with a team like the Green Bay Packers, Zach. And you know what? I'm going to let you talk about that because you have a guy in your house who seems to know them very well.
Yeah, I'm excited to do this division breakdown season or this series, Ross. I think it's a great one because it gives us a chance to sort of talk a bit about every team in the NFL, teams that we wouldn't really pick up on, maybe that go under the radar a bit. So if fans of those teams listen, we'll be able to talk a bit more about them, and also it's good for us because we learn. But yes, the NFC North, a very, very prestigious division in football. You've got the two long-standing teams with the Packers and Bears, and as you rightly said, I live with, and I'm not using this phrase lightly here, a deranged Packers fan in my house.
Harsh.
He is completely deluded and loves the Packers to the point where it is completely delusional. But yes, the Green Bay Packers, a bit about them from last season. They finished first in the NFC North. They went on an unbelievable offensive run. Aaron Rodgers, in my opinion, had the greatest career, I said this earlier, the greatest season in his entire NFL career. He took them to the top seed in the NFC North, and where they lost in the NFC Championship at Lambeau Field to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. On offense, they finished fifth, averaging 31.5 points per game, which is an improvement from 23 average points last year in 2019. And they had unbelievable weapons all around. You had the emergence of Robert Tonyan, who we discussed there a couple of weeks ago. The tight end, who became one of Aaron Rodgers' favorite go-to guys. And you also have Aaron Jones, who was a stud at running back. He had an over 1,000-yard season last year. But really, I think 2020 was the season for Devontae Adams. It was an unbelievable performance by him. He really solidified himself as Aaron Rodgers' go-to man whenever he needed him most, finishing the season with 98.1 average yards per game. That is incredible. You judge wide receivers based on a 100-yard game is a fantastic achievement. And for him to average 98.1 throughout the entire season is mind-boggling.
Yeah, it is.
You think as well to the defense, they finished 13th. And this has always been the problem with the Packers, is their defense has always held them back. They have shown flashes. They have fantastic players. Jair Alexander, who I think is one of the best defensive backs in the NFL. He's maybe not on Jalen Ramsey's level, but he's not far behind.
Well,
Adrian Amos as well, and Rashawn Gary has proven to be a fantastic pass rusher for the Packers. Going into next season, they've drafted Amari Rodgers in the first round, something that the other Rodgers, the Packers, wasn't very pleased
Roger
with.
On there,
and you also have Corey Linsley, who's going to the Chargers at center. However, they drafted a new guy as well. His name's escaping me at the minute. But for me, I think the Packers, the main problem going into next season, all depends on what Aaron Rodgers wants to do. We've touched on it in the news. I think if he stays, in my opinion, the Packers will go on. They'll have a fantastic season, finishing. I'm going to go with 11-6. The only reason I'm going, that's less than their 13-3 season this year. The reason being is the reigning MVP. I think he's going to arrive late to training camp, and they're not going to get off start. They're not going to have the fast start which they've had, the past couple of seasons. It's going to take them a little bit of time to go, but Green Bay are still an unbelievable team, and I think that they'll win that division and make the playoffs. But Ross, what do you think?
You see, the thing is, I would actually agree with your, opinion on the fact that they won't get off the ground in the early days.
Yeah,
and I would actually go even further to say that they don't get off the ground hardly at all this season.
Wow.
Now, that's maybe a bit drastic. I do still think they finish with a winning record. I'm going to say 10-7.
Okay.
But, do they go to the playoffs? Do they go to the NFC Championship game? You have to remember that Matt LaFleur, in his 2 years there, he's brought them to that game both times.
What a start to a career as a head coach.
Yeah, obviously both. The first time they played, the 49ers lost. The second time they played the Tampa Buccaneers. They lost that.
Third time lucky?
Yeah, third time lucky. And I think third time unlucky, sadly.
Oh.
But, we'll see. As I said earlier, Aaron Rodgers, who knows what he's really doing? He's playing golf. He's lying back in Hawaii. I don't think he's all that worried about what happens.
Yeah.
I think he does join the Packers, but I think he's not as effective as he usually is, and that's a big statement to make, but I stand by it.
Okay.
And I'm going to move on to the Chicago Bears now, the team that finished second in the NFC North in 2020 with a 8-8 record. Now, it's funny to hear that because they still made the playoffs with a tied record. Now, last year they had Mitch Trubisky as their quarterback, and they had the 26th ranked offense with him there, with 3,655 yards through the air and 1,647 yards on the ground, calculating the total points of 372. So This year, I think they can do a lot better for themselves. But will they, is the question.
Yeah.
Matt Nagy hasn't got a lot to work with in terms of his number one quarterback, Andy Dalton. This is the guy they're throwing in there. Not to mention that in 2021, they have the third hardest schedule in terms of, the teams they're going to be coming up against win. So that's one thing to keep in mind. And as I mentioned, the QB positions, it's unsure. They've got Fields in there. As Patrick Gurd was saying, he's, an upright guy. He knows what he's doing. But will they want to throw him in straight away? And I've touched on this, in previous episodes. And I think that if they throw him in early, they're silly and they will lose. They will have to wait, and throw him in at the right minute. But I think even so, with Andy Dalton playing the majority of games, maybe even the first 4 or 5, it's a bad start that the team have. And usually a bad start means that they go on to have an even worse finish.
Okay.
Now, the offense have a few upsides. They have Darnell Mooney in there. They have Allen Robinson.
Yes.
2 guys who, on their day, can be absolutely amazing targets. They have Tariq Cohen in the backfield and Montgomery as well. Cole Kmet, who we recently talked about. They've got a half-decent line. So you never know, there are upsides. And another major upside is their defense. 11th ranked defense in 2020. They only allowed 5,519 total yards. So Chicago will rely on their strong defensive front to win games. The likes of Mack in there, Danny Trevathan, Akeem Hicks, some big names there that prove pivotal. And I think that if they can maybe get an offense that can move the ball effectively enough, they could win a few games. So I'm going to say for the Chicago Bears, 7-10.
I think that's fair, Ross. I also have 7-10 down here for the Bears too. And I think that the whole quarterback debacle of last year, you look at Trubisky or Foles, who was it going to be? A wee bit again, like what we talked about with Carson Wentz. You have two good quarterbacks as too many, in my opinion. I think going into next year, they went out and traded for the Red Rifle, Andy Dalton. That's one of the greatest nicknames in sports. And you have Justin Fields waiting in the wing, and I think that the moment that it starts to go south, I don't think Andy Dalton or Matt Nagy's going to pull the trigger on putting him in. I think he's going to wait too late, in my opinion. And I think they're gonna claw back towards the end of the season. But I don't think it's going to be enough for Nagy, and I do think he's going to be out as head coach with the Bears. But what I do like, I like the defense because you have Chuck Pagano there. You have former Colts head coach, fantastic coach. He's retired now. You have Sean Desai, and I was listening to Inside the Huddle, Neil Reynolds and Jeff Reinbold, and Jeff Reinbold was saying about how, whenever Vic Fangio was the main guy in the defense in Chicago, Sean Desai was his sidekick. He wanted to bring him to Denver, and Chicago blocked it. They said, we're keeping this guy. He came up with he got the defensive schemes and everything. Sean Desai is a really good defensive mind. So I think they're going to have a lot of success in Chicago on defense. Speaking of a defensive coach, I'm going to go to a team who has a head coach who's also a defensive guy. I'm going to go to the Minnesota Vikings. Okay.
Yeah.
Last year wasn't a fantastic season for them. They finished 7-9. A game less than the Bears did, and they missed the playoffs. They started out the gate atrociously, fell at the first hurdle. They went 0-3, then clawed it to 1-5, and after that, just could not get it going. It was the first time since 2014 that the Chicago Bears have finished under 500. Offense, yes, I was surprised when I read this. They finished 4th.
Yeah.
Mainly down to, I think, their stud running back. Yeah, it was
strange.
It's a strange one. 5th in rushing. Personally, I think that the offense is so high because of one guy only, and Dalvin Cook. He's an absolute stud there.
Yeah,
their pass finished 14th. And when I look at the offense, I think Kirk Cousins has shown moments. Yes, he has a playoff win. And I love Kirk Cousins. I think he's a great guy and everything.
Overrated, in my opinion, but we've been there and talked about that.
I need him to have a fantastic season with the Vikings. They have flashes, but they never have a fantastic season of, as a quarterback. Defense, well, I should say as well, one thing that the Minnesota Vikings did have last year were receivers, unbelievable weapons. They had Adam Thielen, who already was fantastic. Stephon Diggs was traded last year, and there were concerns there, but they went out and got Justin Jefferson, who fitted into that offense seamlessly and was the envy of the rest of the league, who were around to get him. I think if Jalen Reagor going to the Eagles will be looking at that pick and kicking themselves, thinking, why did we not go and get this guy? Defense, this is really the Achilles heel of the 2020 Minnesota Vikings. They finished 27th, and for Mike Zimmer being a defensive guy, that will not sit well. Yes, they had a lot of problems with their injuries. I think of Anthony Barr mainly. He was out for the season. Big loss. A long-term injury. But the defense, they allowed 479 points, which is one of the highest defense in a season has given up, and finished with just 23 sacks. There's players in the league who finish not far off that. I think 20 sacks is the record for a player, but you combine two guys and they'll get 23 sacks together. This team, in the offseason, they've brought in Kellen Mond, they drafted him. So there are maybe questions with Kirk Cousins there. They also went out and got Patrick Peterson from Arizona. I think he'll provide a bit of maturity, a bit of knowledge, and a bit of wisdom to that defense. They are a relatively young defense, so this was a learning curve for them last year, and I think that going into next season, they'll be better prepared. However, I have them going 9-8 this year. I think they'll finish second in the North, and I think Dalvin Cook will have another monster year, and I think Kirk Cousins will improve. I hope. Please, Kirk, don't prove me wrong.
I think he improves much more than a 9-8 record. In fact, I think the Vikings offense comes out of their shell even more. Okay. Justin Jefferson puts up major points. Adam Thielen in there, Irv Smith Jr., tight end. Dalvin Cook obviously in the backfield. Kirk Cousins, maybe starts to think, oh, here, Kellen Mond's been brought in. I need to start showing them what I can do. I need to prove my worth. The offense, I think, will be the number one rated offense in the league.
Wow.
Now, that's a big take from me.
That's serious, Ross.
It is. And I think, now I have said Kirk Cousins is overrated. I did say that, and I stand by that.
Okay.
But I think Kirk Cousins maybe starts to show people, okay, he's not awful. He can do things that he needs to do. But I think Justin Jefferson's yards after catch and Dalvin Cook on the ground will carry them. Definitely. The question is, can the defense live up to expectations? With a number one rated offense, in my opinion, can the defense complement that? And I think that they'll maybe fall a bit short. But even so, I think the Minnesota Vikings take the North this year by finishing 11-6. That is my prediction.
I like
See how that goes. So you've heard it here first. If that happens, you know who to call.
That's it.
Let's move on to the Detroit Lions now, the team who have had they haven't had it good. They've had a few years where they've maybe disappointed, and they always seem to be that team that you
put the dumpster fire of the North.
They do.
Yeah.
And I think it's same much of a muchness this year again. I hate to say it, Zach.
Oh no.
The pressure is off. With a new QB, I think the pressure is off a wee bit more this season than it usually is. With Matt Stafford going from season to season, there's always that expectation that Matt will take them to the playoffs because he is that kind of quarterback. I think if Lion fans are sensible, they should know that Jared Goff isn't the same QB that Stafford is.
Yes.
And won't be as good as him.
Definitely, yeah.
He'll need a lot more coaching to help him, and I don't know if he'll get that. In 2020, Detroit had the 20th ranked offense, but and that's actually quite high. When I read this, I was quite surprised.
Yeah.
20th ranked offense is quite a high, it's higher than I would have thought. But I think this was mainly carried by Matt Stafford's, air yards, and he put up 4,104.
Yeah.
As well as that, they have a new running back a rookie running back last year who's going now into his second year, DeAndre Swift, who was looking quite good. And not so long ago, Zach, you predicted that Todd Gurley might be going to that team. If they picked him up, you never know.
Exactly.
What might happen there.
Plus Jamal Williams.
Yeah, he's another good addition in there. Yep. Yes. But there are bright sparks to take away. Obviously, TJ Hawkinson, is one of those guys.
He's good.
Now, listen to this. This is when it gets a bit sad for Detroit fans.
Yeah.
They had the worst ranked defense in the league in 2020. Okay. So they allowed a high of 6,716 yards. That's quite a lot of yards. They will be the main talking point of this year. If Detroit can fix their defense, I think they could be looking at a good season. But I don't think they do fix that defense. I think, with an inexperienced head coach and, they haven't really built up a culture there. There's no winning culture. There never has been in Detroit.
Yeah.
I think they go 5-12. They'll struggle. And we'll see what happens, but don't be holding your breath, Detroit fans, because you'll be disappointed. And that is my take. And I'm sure there's Detroit fans typing away in those comments as we speak, saying, "This is our year. We've got a new quarterback." False. 5-12.
There you go. Ross, I'm gonna stay with that depressing narrative. I'm sorry, Lions fans. I do think that this really is a turning point for the franchise. I hope it is, because I look at the Lions and
how is it a turning point though when they bring in a quarterback who's worse than the previous quarterback they've had?
No, I think
you know what I mean.
No, but I think it's Dan Campbell. I really like Dan Campbell. I'm sorry. I think he's first
funny, but that's about it.
His first season's not going to go well. It's going to end 4-13. He was the interim. I think he was the interim head coach for the Dolphins for a while, and he actually did okay. I just there's too many changes to the offense this year.
Doing okay at the Dolphins.
Well,
and then you're at the Lions, which is an even worse franchise. You can't do okay at the Lions because that means you do awful. So, but I'll respect what you're saying, but I just think you've got to be real. There's actually, I actually think there's very little positives to take out of this.
I think what he's going to do is he's going to establish his own culture, where previous head coaches haven't done that. Matt Patricia just tried to start the Belichick era all over again, and it didn't work. Because Belichick found that himself. He didn't find that himself, and it just did not work. I love Dan Campbell's enthusiasm. I think he's a class guy. They were chest bumping in the draft room, in the war room, whenever they drafted Penny Sewell, O-line, in the first round. Will Goff be the answer? I don't think he is. I think Michael Brocker's adding on to the defense. That'll help out a lot.
Yeah.
But I do think that the defense really is the main question here. But that is our predictions for the NFC North. We're now going to switch over to the AFC, to the other conference. And Ross, I'm going to let you take the first.
Oh, you're going to let me
kick
things off? Appreciate that.
Yes.
Yep. Right. Okay. Pittsburgh Steelers somehow won the division last season. Wow. I'm still, when I was doing my research beforehand, I was thinking to myself, surely the Steelers didn't win that.
Yes, they did.
Ravens or the Browns? I even thought the Browns. I couldn't actually remember.
Yeah.
But they did. And they actually got knocked out by the Browns in the first wildcard game. And that was a mighty loss. But here, they went 11-0.
Yeah.
In the first 11 games. Crazy if you ask me. How did they hold on to it that long? I don't know. But put it like this. The Steelers have the most difficult strength of schedule this year, facing teams with an average of a point 574. 574. See these stats getting in my head now? Forgetting how to pronounce them. See, you know what? Take a break from the predictions for a second. See if you ever do a podcast.
Yeah.
You're going to have your head screwed on.
Rehearse numbers. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. All this talking really gets to your head. But the 25th ranked offense in 2020 with 4,003 yards in the air and 1,351 on the ground. Big Ben. That's the major question I have going into 2021. And it's funny because I thought to myself, Big Ben, is he the guy to lead the Pittsburgh? Obviously he is. You know, he can do it. But can he? That's my question. Can he? You know, I thought people for so long have thought Big Ben, he's just, you know, he's a staple.
Mm-hmm.
He's always there. You know, he never seems to go anywhere. He's had a few injuries in his career.
Is the tank almost empty, Ross? Do you think? Yeah.
He keeps going. I think this season is his last.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there.
I would really go as far to say that he actually picks up an injury. And I hate to do this. I hate to kind of predict injuries on players. And it's almost like you're wishing them badly, but that's not the case. But I do think that he lost a few players from his line there. He lost Villanueva, Pouncey, centre.
Yes.
I think he picks up injuries this year. Okay. And then I did my due diligence. I looked at ESPN's depth chart for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I looked at who's behind him in the quarterback depth chart. Mason Rudolph, Dwayne Haskins, and Joshua Dobbs. Like, what?
That's pretty good. Here? That's pretty good option.
You think so?
I think it is.
So?
I thought
to myself, this is dire, to be honest.
I think for backup quarterbacks, that's not half bad. You have a guy who's has experience in the starting role. I think he's waiting for a career comeback.
True.
Hope he does.
Let's just hope he doesn't come up against Garrett again.
No, don't even. That was
Remember
bad.
That? Swinging his helmet about and getting on. But anyway.
Not good.
Defensively, though, a lot more positive. More positive.
Definitely.
Here, by the way, actually, before we jump to that, they do have some offensive weapons. They have Claypool. They have Juju Smith-Schuster, who if he gets off the TikTok, possibly be
and the logos.
Header. Najee Harris as well, who Andrew Erickson talked about.
I'm excited for him.
Be popping off this year. But defensively, they were the top ranked pass rush in PFF's end of the season analysis. They've got guys on that pass rush, that defensive front, like TJ Watt.
What a stud.
JJ Watt's brother. Cameron Hayward, Stefan Tuitt, I think his name's pronounced. Another thing, by the way, name pronunciation. It's all over my head.
Yeah.
And I apologize if we're getting any of those wrong, but and all of these guys are returning to the team. So I think if they can couple with it, they've got a strong secondary as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if the two can combine forces defensively, they'll be up there again. So yeah, I think it will be positive. There'll be positives to take out of the season, but I think the majority of it will be negative, and that will be due to the offense's lack of ability to move the ball. I'm putting them on a 6-11 record.
Ooh,
that's quite low.
It's an interesting one. See, I'm going to take a different narrative there. I think that I have concerns with Big Ben as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think that the addition of Najee Harris is going to be good. I think the hype is real. I think he's going to be really good. And from what I can tell, he's going to be used a lot. Andrew was saying that on the podcast, or in the conversation we had there a couple of weeks ago. He thinks that's the expectation, is he's going to be used in that offense a lot. And then you, as you rightly said, I think defense is key here. Defense wins championships. That Steelers defense was electric last year. Mika Fitzpatrick, I'll add that name to your list as well, Ross. You mentioned there.
Yeah, no,
he was an absolutely unbelievable player in the backfield. I think they were one of the most complete defenses in the league. The main thing I'm going to say with the Steelers is mentality. I think put the TikTok away, just get on with playing, and just if you really want a Lombardi, just give someone your phone and tell them, right, okay, give it to me after the game. Then we can dance to Corvette or whatever it is you're dancing to.
He loves that, like.
But yeah, I'm gonna go. I actually think the Steelers will do well. I think they're gonna go 12-5.
Okay.
There you go.
That's very different to mine. It's almost like flipped completely.
It is.
Yeah, I think there'll be a lot of people listening thinking Steelers were pretenders last year.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think this year is exposing towards that.
Okay. Well, I'm going to move on to the next team who finished second in the NFC North or the AFC North last year. with the Ravens, the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah.
And I think it was a huge year for them because Lamar Jackson finally got that monkey off his back. He won a playoff game. He beat the Titans in the wild card game, the team who beat them the year before in the playoffs, in a 20-13 win. But then the next game was a disaster. He got concussion, failed to score a touchdown for the first time in 39 games in his career, which is an unbelievable run. And the Bills, they lost to the Bills in the divisional round. I think when I look at the team last year, they overcame a lot of adversity. You think of Earl Thomas and the back what happened there, and his release. Then Ronnie Stanley, their Pro Bowl left tackle, he was out with injury. Plus, the Ravens had a COVID-19 outbreak, and they still did produce a lot of good results. Defense finished 7th best. And going into the season, I had high hopes for the defense. They made a lot of good moves. I thought bringing in Calais Campbell, who for a 5th round pick from Jacksonville was a steal. They also signed Derek Wolfe, who was at the Broncos for a long time. They complemented the likes of Marlon Humphrey well, Matthew Judon as well. Offense finished 19th. 2019 Lamar, he had a bit of a sophomore slump, a wee bit sophomore slump, but his level was so high. You can't replicate that.
Running the ball, amazing. Throwing the ball,
yes,
up in the air. In my opinion,
that's where I'm gonna come on to.
Mind the pun there.
Yeah. Oh well, there you go, Ross. First and rushing, they have pretty good running backs. J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards. They haven't brought back Mark Ingram, but I was kind of expecting that. But their passing was absolutely dreadful. Going into this next season, they've signed Sammy Watkins from the Chiefs.
Yeah, they have.
They teased the idea of bringing in Antonio Brown and the likes of him. But I think they've done enough on offense to sort of surround Lamar with talent at wide receiver. He also drafted Rashad Bateman, wide receiver from Minnesota, who they took in the 27th pick overall. I think there's enough there for him. It's just a case of what can Lamar do with that. They have good tight ends as well, and I do think it's down to what can Lamar do, and I think Lamar will have relative success. I have them finishing 11-6. Ross.
Okay. 11-6. That's not too far away from what I've said actually.
Okay.
I've said 12-5 for the Ravens.
All right.
And I actually think they take the AFC North this year.
Okay.
In terms of Lamar, though, I would harbor a different opinion towards him than you think. You seem to hold him in quite high regard. Yes, he is the face of that franchise, no doubt. And on the ground, amazing. And with the line they've built up, they'll have more than enough opportunity to make even more of a push on the ground, and with J.K. Dobbins as well in the backfield. But I think through the air, still up in the air, as I said earlier, that pun, it's still up there somewhere, flying about. And this is the year, you've added things to the offense there. You've added Bateman, and you've gone for Sammy Watkins and stuff. So I think you never know.
What I will say is, I think he's going to have a good regular season, and that's maybe where, I should say, I remember OSU Minora saying this once, and he said that running quarterbacks never go deep into the playoffs. You think of Michael Vick, he was the same, and I think that's so true. You look at Lamar. In order for you to succeed in the playoffs, you need to have an arm. You need to be, and that's where the likes of Tom Brady, those pocket passers, have had so much success. I think it's exposed in the playoffs, but I think in the regular season, Lamar's still going to do well.
Okay.
It all depends on what he can do with his arm.
Yeah, true. That's it. Okay, now moving on swiftly. Cleveland Browns, they finished 3rd in the AFC North this season with a 11-5 record, sorry. And by the way, the one thing that you may not have realized is there's an extra game this year in the NFL.
There is, yes.
So that's why, for some people who maybe don't realize that, probably thinking, whoa, their numbers are way off here.
We can't
there is that extra game, which is funny. I think it'll throw the stats and everything off. But we'll see how that goes. And I personally don't like it, but we can talk about that another day. Okay, so they have the 9th most difficult strength of schedule in 2021. They've got the 11th. They had the 11th ranked defense or offense, in 2020. With most of their yards coming on the ground with that 2-pronged attack in Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. Stefanski,
Yes,
he's the man who has changed a culture there. It took them so long, didn't it?
Sure did.
They went through quarterbacks and coaches like Sweets, and they're thinking to themselves, when's it going to change? Stefanski's that guy.
He's done it.
And, he's brought up the play of Baker Mayfield. He's brought up the play of that defense. Especially offensively, I'd like to mention, actually, they're a completely changed team. For 2 seasons there previous, they had the weapons to do it. They had Odell. They had Jarvis Landry.
Mm-hmm.
They had, Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. But they didn't have them pass. But, they had some amazing talent on there. David Njoku.
Yep.
And you were sitting there thinking, how are these guys not challenging for this North? And I think the answer was in the coach. Finally, Stefanski's come in. He's changed the status quo. And he's changed a few things around in terms of offensive scheming. He tends to like to go with tight end play. He's brought in Bryant. He drafted him. And he also brought in Austin Hooper.
Yes.
He likes to run the ball a wee bit more.
Yes,
which is good
definitely.
to see.
Definitely.
The opportunity to do that with a good line there as well. So obviously offensively, and you heard the offensive weapons I was mentioning there, they're more than cut out to make a go at this. I think even a go at the Super Bowl. I think we've had a few guests on who have said the Browns for the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Can't remember exactly who, but I think that all lies on their offensive efforts. Defensively, it's different. I think defensively they aren't as strong. They had the 17th ranked defense. Okay, that's not too bad, but there's still a few things to be worked on there. They've added Cormoa, Notre Dame guy, linebacker. He'll add a bit. They have actually added Clowney, Jadeveon Clowney, to that right side in terms of the pass rush.
Yes.
With him and Garrett.
That'll be dangerous.
You never know what could happen.
Could be dangerous.
Very, very dangerous. Mason Rudolph, if he goes in there, say your prayers, man. I don't think you're getting out of there alive.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I think actually expect the Browns to be just as good as they were last season. I don't think they're making any huge jumps or any huge decreases. I think they're kind of, if you look at them on a graph chart, I think it's going to be pretty steady. It's going to be a pretty steady line this year. And yeah, I say 11-6 for those guys. I think they finish second. I think they make the playoffs again. And you never know. Once they're in the playoffs, you never know what could happen.
Well, I'm sorry, Ross. There's a train coming to town and I bought a ticket and it's called the Hype Train and it's on its way to Cleveland.
Okay.
And I'm sitting at the front of it. I've got the Cleveland Browns finishing 13-4. I have them winning the AFC North, and I have a feeling that if they're not in the AFC Championship game, they're playing in a game next year in February in Los Angeles. I think that the Cleveland Browns have the pieces. I think Kevin Stefanski's done a fantastic job. His play action calling and everything has worked really well with Baker Mayfield. The thing I'm concerned about is, I will say this as well. I think they play better without OBJ.
I do. I think so too. I was actually about to say that,
because they were going on that run and you forgot that OBJ was there. I know he was injured, but
if I were them, I would have tried to trade him this offseason. And that's what I'm saying. You never know. He could still be on the market.
Yeah.
But I do think that he's a problem in the locker room, to be honest with you.
I think
sorry, go ahead.
I absolutely. And that was one of the reasons why he was taking out the Giants, because apparently he was being told by some of the other players were told, don't go near him. I think the running game is the best in the best duo in the league. I think that it all depends as well on Baker Mayfield's play. I think that 2019 season, whenever Freddie Kitchens was the head coach, I thought Baker Mayfield came out of the 2018 season and he was on the high horse I'm class. I'm a great quarterback. I'm playing in the NFL. He had to eat humble pie in 2019.
He did,
and he came back with a mellow chip on his shoulder attitude in 2020. If he can maintain that in 2021, the Browns will do fantastic. But if he goes back to that arrogant, that arrogant mindset, everything, I think that's his downside. But yeah, I do like the Browns. I think their O-line's fantastic as well. I think they maybe aren't as complete as the Colts, but I think they're a really, really good team. And I think they'll do well. Going to a complete polar opposite to end off tonight, the Cincinnati Bengals, who finished stone dead last in the AFC North. Now, I will say this: they have a franchise. Well, I think they have a franchise quarterback in Joe Burrow. He was their first overall selection in the 2020 draft. They improved on their 2-14 record in 2019 to a 4-11 record. However, Joe Burrow tore his ACL in week 11, and that really was the end of their season whenever that happened. This is Zach Taylor's third season in charge, and I think it's a make or break season for him. I think if he's not doesn't show a sign of real improvement, I think he will be a victim of Black Monday in the NFL, that infamous first Monday and the end of the regular season. I also, the offense finished 29th, defense 26th. Defense absolutely atrocious. I think that they really have a problem with spending money. You have some guys in that defense. I think Eli Apple's there now as well. They have Von Bell. They've got a couple of guys. They let Geno Watkins go. And this is the thing which I really don't like. And I think, the LSU connection works well. And they asked Joe Burrow, who do you want in the draft? And he said, I want this guy over the other guy. They're going to go for Penny Sewell. And I think that they needed that.
Which would have been the sensible option.
Exactly. But they went for Jamar Chase. Now, offensively, it's a great weapon for play calling and everything. But I think every time that I see that scar on Joe Burrow's leg, that massive ACL, surgery scar, that is a constant reminder to me of what a bad O-line can be. And if you're not going to protect your precious quarterback, your franchise quarterback, go and ask the Colts what happened with Andrew Luck. I just think they need to protect him, then build around him. But it is Joe Burrow's team, and I think if they can get the right weapons and please get a line, then I think they're going to be a good team. But the real issue is defense, in my opinion. I have them finishing. Sorry, Bengals fans, have you finishing last? But I have you improving. Have you finishing with 6-11?
I'm right there with you. Exactly the same. I actually think the Bengals, though, although we agree on the record, I think the Bengals will improve quite a bit this year.
Yeah.
I think they did have a decent receiving core in T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd. Those guys went for a combined 1,749 yards. So that's crazy. So if those guys can pick up with the left, you also have Joe Mixon coming back. So you never know.
That's true.
You never know running game wise. And then Joe Burrow, as you've said, I think he has the leadership qualities. He has the play ability, and we'll see how far that gets him. I'm going to push the boat out a little, even though they're finishing 6-11 in my opinion, and say that they take a step in the direction of being quite like the Browns team.
Yes. From
last year.
I think that's fair.
Even though they'll not get the playoffs and all, I think they take the step. I think they're a few seasons behind where this Brown team is, sorry. But I think in a couple of seasons, they'll be right up there. And it'll be difficult because that's a very tough division you're competing in. You're going up against two teams who have got their franchise quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Set. Steelers is up in the air with Big Ben maybe taking an exit sooner rather than later, but there isn't really an opening at the moment for another team to be in the playoff competition, playoff question. But I think give it maybe this season and next, and they'll be in there. Zach, what a night it's been. We've been talking NFC, AFC, North divisions.
Golf.
Probably a lot of people, we've probably offended a lot of fans here. We've probably made more enemies than friends. But we'll live to see tomorrow. So
all I'm going to say is I'm more than happy to admit next year if there's if the Bengals go on to win the Lombardi Trophy, I will stand here. I'll be the first to say I was wrong. Okay.
Oh yeah, I'll be putting my hands up. But
I just at the minute, this is what I'm thinking. But obviously, there's always teams that come out of the woods and surprise us all.
They do.
But that's what makes the NFL the NFL, Ross.
It does. It does.
So good.
We could both be sitting here biting our tongues in a year's time.
Exactly.
No one ever knows. But that is what we think. At the end of the day, they are our thoughts, and everyone's entitled to an opinion. That's ours. We're throwing it out there. You guys are also entitled to yours, so you put down in the comment section. Now, be nice, please. Don't be saying unkind.
Ross really takes your comments to heart, people.
We're all friends here. No.
I'm joking.
We're all friends. But seriously, yeah, comment down what you think. If you're a Bengals fan, if you're a Bears fan, if you're comment down below what you think your team's record will be this year. And be honest with yourself. There's a lot of fans who go out and say, 14-3 or whatever it is going to be now. Be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
Let's take a step back and look at it, from an unbiased point of view. And even when it comes around to our favorite teams, that's what we'll be doing.
Yep.
Because if Zach says the Broncos are finishing 12-5,
no, I won't.
I'm out.
I won't.
That's not happening.
Same
thing with my 49ers, even though they will.
That's
harsh. No, I'm joking. But yeah, no, thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode. We're going to be joined next week by none other than another Last Chance U player, our guy who's featured on the series. We had John Beam, Coach John, on a week ago. On Saturday there, he was on, and
what a guy, by the way.
Insight. What a guy. Absolutely amazing.
Unbelievable. He coached me in our conversation.
He did.
With football,
he coached
but
me
with
how to
mindset.
clap in time.
I know, that's true.
I didn't have a clue what I was doing.
That's true.
I watched that footage back and I thought, even at the end, I still didn't know what I was doing. So
and he coached Tom Brady.
He did.
Wow. Unbelievable.
And he's looking to come here and coach me in terms of quarterback play, turn me into the next big thing. I'll be in our conversation. Yeah. Hanging up the mic for the bits.
But
we'll see you next week for that. Any last words, Zach?
No, I again just appreciate everybody who listens week in, week out. We really appreciate your support. And we would appreciate you telling any of your friends, family who you think would be interested in giving us a listen. Please make sure to subscribe to our channel, and we'll be back with next week's episode. We'll see you then.
We will see you then. Have a good one.